Hola, y'all. Hey, hey, hey. I'm back. Oh, you know what? Let's see. Hola, y'all. Can you hear me better here? Because it should be coming out of my mic and not my headphones, but we'll see. We'll see. You let me know if you can hear me. I'm pretty sure you can see me. Still with the stuff in the back. We'll explain because we're still in the throes of severe weather here in Portugal. Feliz Quita Fighter. I am Krishan Wright. I'm the founder of Blaxit Global, the host of the Blaxit Global podcast, coming to you from my home in Coimbra, Portugal. So, y'all, if you've been keeping up with the news, Portugal got hit pretty hard last week by a tropical depression, Kristen. We have had a lot of damage to the country, particularly in the Lieria district, Silver Coast. That's been hit pretty hard. And so, the country has now devoted quite a lot of money, like $2.5 billion package to help businesses and individuals, kind of rebuild. And then, right, schools have been closed, like a whole lot of things, depending on the area. But if that wasn't enough, another tropical depression, Leonardo, is actually happening right now. So in the event that I lose y'all, look, I tried. So it is supposed to be dumping rain up until Sunday. And then we're supposed to have more rain until like next Wednesday or so. So it's been raining for over a week. I think we're at maybe 10 days of rain already. So it's crazy. So we had a landslide yesterday. Some of our members had some trees falling in their neighborhood because the ground is so saturated. So if you want to support, causes that help people in Portugal, you can look at the Red Cross. Some of us here also have been donating clothes, money, time to help people because it's pretty devastating. Me and Bailey, girl, have been limiting our walks because I have a healthy fear of dying. And so I'm like, ground is saturated. I don't really need to be outside that much. So, we've been taking it easy. But yeah, we're hanging in there. We're hanging in there. Yes. So, want to say hello to y'all in the chat. And yes, this is an after dark. So we're going to get to that and our guest. I mean, you should know it's an after dark because the mood lighting is on. I don't know if you saw the post. I had Marvin Gaye's Sexual Healing playing in the background. I mean, but I'm not going to get ahead of us. We're going to save that for our guest tonight. But yes, first in the chat, Anya. Hello, hello, hello. She's a channel member. You too should become a channel member. Yes, yes, yes. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, Venus, how are you? Hey, house sitting retiree. I know I'm back on Thursday. The past 2 times I've been on Fridays. Hey, Winnie B. Hey, Winnie B. In a place to be. Hey, just talk with C. How you doing? Hey, 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 Jess. Hi, Janice. How are you? Yes, it is. It is. It's bad. There's last report. I was watching CNN Portugal a little bit ago, and there was 200,000 people still without power a week since the storm. Right, like we're now officially 1 week past the storm. But now we're in the midst of another storm. Mm-hmm. Hey, 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 positive thinking from Arizona. Look, listen to Susan. Susan said, hit the like button. Aw, thank you. Thank you. Yes, help us get to 10,000 subscribers. I think it's possible. I mean, we're at I think almost 9,500. I think it's possible. I know. It's crazy. Thank you. Hello, my friends. Hello. The Howards are in the house. Hey, Jametta. Thank you. Yes. Look, Jametta is one of us. She's here in Portugal. Look, we are holding hands. We are holding hands. But community is important. I definitely want to say that because a lot of us have been reaching out to one another, checking in, making sure we're okay. And that's been really helpful. Hey, locating cozy after dark. I know. Look, I'm gonna have to get you up in here, cozy, telling your story soon. Right, I got the vino. I got the red vino. Got the red lips and the red wine. I feel like Halle Berry and Monsters Ball. She'd be like, he always like the red gumbo. Hey, Octavia. Hello. Hello, Nichelle. Hello, Gary. How you doing? I know. Gary from TikTok. I'm doing well. Yes. I like Coimbra. I would like it even more if I could get out and explore without this daggone rain. It's crazy, Gary. OMG. Hey, Casper. Hey, Zerubel. Hey. Thank you. I was trying because I'm still trying to get my bearings in my new spot. Yes, it's After Dark Thursday. Absolutely. Hey, Patricia. Thank you. I am very grateful that I'm in a new building. So thankfully, nothing has been breached. Although I have not checked my basement since Sunday. I should do that. But last time I checked it on Sunday night, it was still dry. Let's pray. Let's pray. Yes, not to be forgotten. Good afternoon. Hey, Mimi's in the house. Thank you. Yes. Oh my gosh. Absolutely. Hey, Phyllis. How you doing? How you doing? Are you doing okay? Yeah. Yes. Okay. So yes, this is a Blaxit Global After Dark. The past few weeks, like you guys have asked for things and I've been delivering. So keep it coming. Like give me topics, even things that you want me to cover in the podcast. The podcast is still in motion. A little delayed because of the move, a little more delayed because of the storm. Um, and then, I've got guests all over the world, so they have timelines. So, I'm not going to make a formal announcement as to when I think it's going to happen because it's a moving target. But just know it is still coming. It is still coming. I'm working on it. Hey. So, Blaxit Global After Dark, a topic that is near and dear to my heart, dating abroad. And we've covered it with different guests. If you've been following Blaxit Global for a while, or hey, if you're new and you may not have gone through some of the videos, there's actually a playlist for dating abroad. And we have a couple episodes because in earlier years I had people tell their stories. And so tonight it's going to be like a mixture of two because we have one of our rock stars in Portugal, Twanna Hines, and she is a sexual health educator. She lives in Portugal. Hey, girlfriend.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you? Boa noite.
Good night. How's it going?
Good. Look, they are here. They are ready. They want to get into this
We're getting
because
into it.
look,
So I hope people are ready. Like, yeah.
yes. So for me, right, before I moved abroad, one of the things I was excited about was the idea of dating. I've been long divorced. Gosh, I think over 16 years at this point. And so but up until I moved abroad, I had not dated. I intentionally chose to raise my kids. And I didn't say I was celibate during that whole time,
No,
but
this is
I
what
was
you're
just
saying.
not
Dating.
actively
Now,
dating.
exactly.
I had to have my own fun with, Anyway, so I was like, okay. So then when I broached dating abroad, maybe a couple months, almost a year into it, had a little fits and starts, even had like a more recent dalliance. And I learned things, I have to say. And as now being intentional about dating and dating over 50, it's a whole new world. And so I'm so delighted that you're here to talk to the people about it. It would be wonderful if you could share a little bit about yourself and then we'll get into it.
Oh, I love this. Yeah, I'm Twanna Hines. I write, teach, speak everything about sexual reproductive health and rights. And I also own a business where we help nonprofit and NGO clients really up their game when it comes to reproductive justice. So, one of the things that, having done this space for so long, I think it's been almost 25 years that I've been writing in this space and dating. I often tell people your story and your journey is your own. We're fed this lie that success equals marriage. And so if you're married, then it worked out, right? It worked out for you. That ignores there are a lot of people who are not married and are extremely happy. And all the research shows as women, you actually fare better if you're single. Married men fare better than single men. So that story is just not true for everyone. Some people marry, they find their partner, and they're with it for the rest of their life, and that works. Others marry, divorce. Others marry and become widows. Others date, marry, date, or just date throughout. And so, a lot of what I want to talk to with Krishan about, and with you putting your questions down there, is really what does that look like when you're abroad? Because when you're back home and when you're in your community, speaking the language that you know, you're not asking as many questions about dating different parameters because everyone, for the most part, is from your city or at least living in your city. And now you're in another country. So, what does that mean about fetishization as a Black woman in particular? Because
Mm.
what does that mean about safety and vulnerability? Not only in your safe, your physical body, but also feeling emotionally secure in a country where you may not feel that way. You may have only
Mhm.
been there for like a month or 3 months, and you're still figuring out like, are chickpeas kirkaertas in this place, or do they call them this there, or how do I find that? And there's just so much vulnerability in general when you come to another country and you don't have your people with you, the friends
Mhm.
you've known the longest, your family, your support networks, the people you're literally back on WhatsApp with and or calling or video chatting with to tell them what you're going through. So you just have this level of vulnerability that's baked in as someone who's living abroad, whether you prefer the word expat, immigrant, I prefer migrant. We're all migrating like birds from one place to another.
Mhm.
So that just like factors in a lot. So I'm ready to get into it. Krishan, what questions do you have to start us off? I know you've got
Yeah, I
yeah.
do. So you've lived in 3 countries, right?
Uh,
Outside of the US.
outside of the US, 3 countries. Yes. I lived in the UK starting back in the 90s. I lived in the Netherlands and I speak Dutch fluently. And I now live in Portugal and I speak razoável Portuguese. I like speak enough to get by and be understood and to understand others. And so I've
Mhm.
been partnered up and almost engaged and single throughout all of these experiences. And
Mhm.
so it's quite a thing, I gotta say. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you were, let's see, first was the UK, was the first country?
UK was the first. Yes.
Okay. So when you were in the UK, or maybe like let's look at it in the 3 country buckets.
Okay.
If you could compare and contrast your experiences, and granted different ages of those times, with dating in those countries, in your skin, with your wisdom and everything, how do you think it's compared or evolved in that time?
Oh, I love this question because I so infrequently get to talk about my own personal dating life anymore. When I started writing about it, that's what I wrote about. And now it's more
Mm.
about like sexual politics and just understanding what's happening in the dating world and all of these
Mhm.
things, writing columns and all that stuff. So I like when I have an opportunity to talk about this in particular. So let's start with England. When I was in England, I was in my 20s, and that was my first time living abroad in another country. And so I had two things going on at the same time when it comes to dating as a Black woman. I always called myself African American. If someone said, "What's your background? Where are you from?" Things like that. And so when I was living in England, that was my first time of really getting a sense of my own self as a Black person from the
Mm.
United States, not living in the United States. And so meeting Black people who were Black and British, or Jamaicans who weren't British but were living there, or people from Ghana or any other thing and place, and really having a different awakening of sorts when it comes to the diaspora and what that means
Mhm.
for me as a person in this world and in this body. And so that person and who I was at that time starting to date, I think for me it was a lot of just not really knowing where to fit in quite fully. Like fit
Mm.
like amongst the other Americans, black, white, whatever, because I've dated everybody. I often joke that if my vagina was a passport, it would have so many beautiful stamps from all over the world. It's really
I
yes.
like
So no matter where they were from, right? Like I was dating everyone in England, but like they may have all been different. And I was going through my own experience where I think so
that.
many of us do as Black women, where you're just figuring out like how you kind of fit in this world, right?
Mhm.
Like that was me as a person in my 20s living in that particular country, dating at that time. I went over
Mhm.
there single. I was dating and single, fellow Americans who were there, internationals who were there, Brits. So just figuring all of that out really. Fast
Mhm.
forward. Now I'm in the Netherlands. I moved there with a guy that I think I'm going to marry. I learned Dutch
Mhm.
fluently. I'm having dinner with his parents every week, at least once. Yeah. So I had a Dutch life, a Dutch world, and I thought I would never leave the Netherlands. Like I
Mhm.
really believed, like this is my future. I'm going to be here. So I wasn't dating in the Netherlands outside of the partner that I saw myself marrying. And
Oh,
so
wow.
that
Mhm.
was an experience where not only was my experience as being abroad, right? So then you've got, I'm moving to his country because anyone who's been in a partnership and moving, there's this inherent inequality or difference of power and
Mhm.
security when you both are moving to a third country. But when you move to your partner's country, well, they already know the language. They already have their
Mhm.
friends. They already know how things work out. And I think that was something I had to take on myself of how much I put on to my then partner of like expectations of him feeling my need to feel more secure in general
Ah.
there.
Mhm.
And then feeling my need, me honestly feeling that it was unfair that he already had this world and it was comfortable and everything was fine. He was just going back
Mhm.
home. And I was trying to figure everything out and make my own friends and find my own way in this place. And that was its own imbalance of sorts. And so
Mhm.
that was an experience of what happens when you're moving to a country where it's that other person's home and you're the one who's the outsider.
Yeah.
There were all those experiences for me, which could feel lonely, which I put
Mhm.
way too much on him than I should have. And I can admit that now that I expected him really to carry my life into there, help me kind of navigate that there. And now Portugal's a new experience because I'm a
Mhm.
grown ass woman. I'm not in my 20s. And I moved here single. And so now it's like a completely different experience of like dating. I met a guy my sixth day here. I dated
Wow.
a German guy off and on for like 2 years my first year, and then have since been dating other people. And
Mhm.
it's been something. It's been a ride, and it's been a journey of self understanding and exploration. That the dating part of it is only a fraction of the self discovery and self learning of what I needed to go through and understand of how I feel secure in a country that's not my own.
Mhm. And so it sounds like that, especially that experience in the Netherlands, you've kind of carried through as you move forward to this season of your life, dating in Portugal. Um, and you've taken it upon yourself to learn the language. And I
See,
would imagine a different level of motivation because, like you said, when you were in the Netherlands, you were partnered. You thought that you were going to, marry this gentleman, around his family. So that's a different motivation, I would imagine, to learning the language versus how you've been approaching your experience in Portugal.
that's very true. Language, and I encourage everyone, no matter what country you're in, to learn the language. I think it only helps you, right?
Mhm.
So my Dutch is much stronger than my Portuguese. I had a Dutch partner. It's what they call learning the language horizontally. So I that is
Good. Cheers.
monitor that. So I had a Dutch partner. I was in intensive Dutch language training, and I had Dutch friends, and I had a Dutch roommate at one point. So I had an
Mhm.
incredibly Dutch life. And even now, when I meet Dutch people and I'm speaking to them, they say you don't really have an accent. Like you just speak Dutch. You
Wow.
don't sound like an American speaking Dutch. You just are speaking Dutch. When I speak
Mhm.
when I speak Portuguese here, they look at me and they say, English? Yeah, please. And so I speak it, but it's so clear that I'm an English speaker who speaks Portuguese instead of someone who just speaks it, right? And so
Mhm.
there's that, and it's something. The more languages you get to know, the more people you can kiss in different languages too, which is great.
That's true. It
Yeah,
makes it interesting. So I want to kind of go back a little bit to something
sure.
that you mentioned before that was really interesting, your perspective on it. You were talking about when you move to a country that a partner has, already has roots, right? Friends, family, they know the customs, everything. And you go into it and you took away with a lot of learnings. So to some, they might be thinking, to some, they might even not even be aware of that power
Yeah.
dynamic that they may be going into it. Um, but for you, as you kind of like navigate, this dating relationship or dating abroad, dating in Portugal, and I know that's not the case right now, but let's say you date someone who's Portuguese, what insights are you kind of taking into those type of interactions?
Yeah. So having had the previous experience of I've moved into this person's country compared to now being a single woman who's dating, sometimes it's
Mhm,
Portuguese people, sometimes it's Germans, I mean, it could be from anywhere, right? And so what I'm taking into it now is that I have much more responsibility for my own happiness and my own
mhm,
security and my own social life and my own navigating of the world. So even if I'm dating a Portuguese person now, I am not relying on him to translate things for me, to
mm,
help navigate the system itself. I am still going to do that as if I were a single person. I
mhm,
might ask them for things every now and then, and like a little bit of help, but I'm not relying on them the way that I did with my Dutch partner.
mhm.
Because back then it was just the assumption, obviously, who else would I ask if not my partner who's from
Yeah.
here? Yeah.
Mhm,
Then that also sets up this dependency of sorts where if I, as a single woman, never really see myself as male centric, of like that, even when I'm in a relationship, I'm not male centric, like I'm not depending on my partner for everything.
mhm,
So why would I have that abroad? And it took me a while to kind of realize that was happening. Like if I'm in the
mm,
United States and I'm dating a guy in the United States, I'm not going to look at him and ask him to help me navigate my world, my life, right? Like
yeah.
figure that out for myself. But then when you pick me up and put me in another country, all of a sudden I'm that woman who's
Yeah.
asking my guy to help me navigate everything. And so
Mhm,
having gone through that and come out on the other side and see what that did to me, to him, to our relationship,
mhm,
now, like I said, even with Portuguese guys, if I'm not sure about something, I'll ask my community, I'll try and figure it out. And if I can't,
mhm,
yeah, sure, I'll ask my partner, but I'm not going to start there because I've never been that person that does that with my partner. And so that's the thing that I think we often navigate when we're abroad. Wherever you go, there you are, as they say, right? So you're
yeah.
still you, but it is you in a different context. And so you
Mhm,
have to have this fine dance between it is actually good to leave some stuff behind. I'm a more humble person now
yeah.
than I was when I was living in the United States. I
Mhm,
move slower now. I'm much more mindful about actual conversations with people now when I'm in Europe than when I'm in the United States.
mhm,
Standards for how I want to interact with people are higher. I care way more about quality than quantity
mhm,
of interactions. So yeah, there's some changes when you move from one place to another, and those relationships shift as well.
mhm.
Get me started talking about the people who break up and divorce when they move to another country.
Oh, I mean, we could go there next. Um, but I kind of want to like build to that.
Sure.
So, what are the things for you that, because this is your space, right? You write about it, you talk about it, you educate people about sexual health. You, you're a Black woman living abroad. So, what are some of the myths that can serve as impediments to Black women as they think about, let alone try to navigate the dating world in their Black bodies?
Yeah. So do we want to talk about Black women who are still living back home? Black women, you're American, I'm American, so we often talk about like
Mhm.
Black. understanding obviously the Black experience is not only Americans. And
Yeah.
so, like, do we want to talk about like Black women we know back home who are thinking of coming, but they're like, oh, I don't know, and things like that? Or for people who are abroad thinking about dating, like, what are the things to keep in mind? How should we?
Yeah, I think we could do it in 2 parts because,
Yeah.
I know most of the people that are in the chat, and so we've got a nice mix of people who are pre-flight and some people who are watching who are living in different countries.
Perfect. Okay, so let's talk about things to keep in mind for pre-flight. So we'll
Mhm.
work out there. Pre-flight, and then when you're actually here. Pre-flight. So some of the things that I find helpful to think about are like, what are the motivating factors about the decisions that I make in my life? Period. So when I was pre-flight, thinking about the kinds of people that I would date, what I was interested in, how I wanted to behave in a relationship, and how I wanted that person to behave towards me,
Mhm.
expectations, all of those things. I was already dating people from all over the world when I was living in the United States. The
Oh,
last
wow.
guy that I dated was Irish. I dated a French Canadian guy, had a couple of lovers from Mexico and Spain.
All right
And
now.
yeah, I've always been licking all the lollipops from all the different countries.
Like
And
you said, your vagina got them stamps, baby.
so the thing is, so I'd had exes already, and so I think that like as we think about like, oh my gosh, in pre-flight, what would dating be like for me
Mm,
there? It's always really good to be very mindful and intentional, not just who are you dating, but like what are the values that you uphold in the way that you engage in relationships with people. Those won't change, right?
yeah.
Who you date might change, what they look like, like, oh, people tend to be more like this here, whatever, but the values that you uphold
Mhm.
in how you choose who you're dating and what you want and what makes you ultimately feel seen and loved and heard in a relationship, that's not going to change just
Mhm.
because you move from point A to point B. And so, like pre flight, as you're thinking of what dating will be like for you there, one of the beautiful things about starting your life over in another country is that it forces you to be intentional. It
Mm.
forces you to rethink things. It's like being a kid again, where you're like, "Oh, the washing machines work this way here." Like you're
Thank God for ChatGPT.
yeah, exactly. What do I do? What do all of these pictures on the stove mean? And so pre-flight, as you're thinking of like, what will dating be like for me there? The beautiful thing is that you can be intentional and mindful about like, what are the things that are most important to me, period.
Mhm.
So then when you come over to wherever you end up going, you really have that as your guiding star, that you stay centered in that and that you don't kind of get wrapped up in this like, oh, well, I've never done that before. Oh, okay, I'll try this. Or, whoa, I've been, I left my marriage when I came here. Or I was married, but then we fell apart here. So now what does
Mhm.
that mean? Like, it can be easy to get lost in it all of sorts, right? So I
Mhm.
think the more that we can stay grounded and that, like, the thing you deserve most is to be seen,
Mm.
heard, believed, and cared for who you are. So knowing what that means for you and being really clear in it helps you navigate away from the bullshit that you'll
Yeah.
encounter when you meet people who aren't that you
Mhm.
don't actually kind of get that. You sift through all of that. So
Mhm.
pre-flight, I would say that that's something I would encourage people to be mindful about, right? So
Mhm.
that way you don't end up in like random bullshit that's not worth it anyway. So
Absolutely.
yeah, that would be my guidance there. And then like post-flight, like once you are where you are, it's so strange, right? So if you take a cactus, because we often forget humans are part of the natural world. Humans are
Mhm.
mammals, and those mammals are called animals, and animals are one of the many living things that are on this globe. If you take a cactus out of Texas and you put it in California, you have not changed that cactus, but it's not going to function the same way that it did in Texas. Ditto
Mhm.
for that cactus if you put that in Florida, or if you put it in Bangkok, or you put
Mhm.
it whatever. That doesn't mean there's anything different or wrong about the cactus. It just means the cactus knows what the cactus needs to thrive. So now post flight, where you are in your country, it is not uncommon for people to, and this story is not told often. People move, but people move back, or they move and then
Mhm.
they move again and they move somewhere else, right? And so, like,
Mhm.
as you think of it, like now you are where you want to be, ideally, or where you've stopped for now until you go to
Mhm.
where you want to be. This, when we're thinking about dating, what I find very helpful is to really kind of think about like, what would it take me to bloom here
Mm,
in this place? What does the cactus need, right? Like, we're part of this living thing. What do I need to bloom here? What would make that feel like a good fit for me? What works really well for me here? Because those kinds of things will factor into date who you choose, what you do when you're with them, what you expect for them, right? Like, you
mhm,
deserve bloom. And so really thinking through like, what are those things that I need for this particular environment, right?
mm,
Because what I was looking for and how I was dating in England was very different from my relationship with my now ex, right? But my
mhm,
then partner in the Netherlands and how I was engaging in the world and how we were as a couple was very different
mhm,
from my life here in Portugal, right?
mm, mhm,
Still me, but what I need to bloom and how I navigate that world is very different depending on where I am. And so,
mhm,
whatever partner I'm with at that time and what I need from them is going to be different as well.
mhm.
I'd like a
Yeah.
guy with a boat in Portugal. That'd be great. Be like sailing up the Tejo, but those are things.
I mean, it'll happen because I love me. I love to sail.
Oh, oh, I love a nice boat. I love being in a yacht. Like, yeah, but like,
Right. There's no secret about me in boats.
we've been on a yacht together,
Right.
Krishan.
Exactly. And y'all probably paid attention to my birthday videos. Swan was
Yes.
there on that yacht. Okay. We was
Yes,
having
my
some
ass
fun.
off. Like, yeah. But it is so funny to get that. But it's kind of like my life here, a 50 something, 51 as of last
Hey,
week.
hey, hey. Welcome to the club, Club
Hey, I'm
51.
loving it. I'm loving it. Exactly. 51-year-old woman who's dating younger men predominantly and men my age too, but like
Ooh, we got to talk about that part.
who's like dating, right? In Portugal, like I don't need someone up under me all the time. Like
Facts.
so like also like what I need and what I'm thinking about all of these stuff, right? Like
Mhm.
ideally they have their place, I have mine.
Yeah.
I don't even need to live with the person, right?
Mhm.
And then part of my picking of choosing Portugal was I wanted warm weather. Netherlands would have been I need warm weather. I need sunshine.
Yeah.
I need ease of travel. And so I want a partner who wants these things with me. And
Mhm.
so that's part of for me to feel happy is not me stuck in my apartment as lovely as it is and I love it, but like in the rain in Portugal all the time. So when it stops raining, I need to be outside. I need to be
Mhm.
doing things. And I want my partner to be part of that with me. And so the kinds of things that we need uh, shift and matter based on where we
Mhm.
are.
Yeah. And I think too, it's like giving yourself grace and knowing that it's an evolution, right? Like for me, I didn't have a lot of dating experience leading up to my marriage. I had been in a few relationships, but not, like I was, felt like I was well versed at dating.
Right.
And then I intentionally took a long pause after. And so now being in a new country,
Yeah.
part of the, working through that is like, okay, what are the things that this version of Krishan, who has grown children and who has a successful business, who had a career, who's retired, who travels, right? Like now my whole everything has changed, right? From who
Yes.
I was to who I am now. So I'm starting to learn me. And then how does that show up in dating? How does that refine or define who I find interesting, attractive, compatible, in alignment with my life versus if I think about to my earlier experiences, it was more like, well, that person likes me and not necessarily me choosing. It was like the pick me girl, right? Versus, oh, well, do you even fit my criteria? So it had to, and I'm fine with being transparent about it. because sometimes we don't have a lot of dating experiences based on, our upbringing and things like that. My mom was like
Yeah.
super conservative. She was like, I remember asking her about like my body changing and sex, and she was just like, her answer was like, if I don't talk about it, she won't even like inquire. It's like, kids are
Yes.
curious, like
Yeah.
inquiring minds want to know. And so, you like, at least for me, right, fumble through those things. And so I feel like to some degree that has shaped, my dating experience now. But the other part of that is, like I said, leaning on, well, I've got life experiences, I've got things that I've overcome. There are things and that I know about myself. I'm a sapiosexual. So if
Mhm.
you are like dumb as a box of rocks, baby, I don't care how good you look, it ain't going to work. I don't
Well,
care how good the
yeah.
D or how big it is, it ain't going to work, right? And so it's like, I mean, I'm not saying there wasn't a time where it would have worked, but I'm saying that this version of my life now is like absolutely not going to
Yeah.
work. Or something you mentioned about someone being in your space. I've been married, I've been divorced, I've had two children. So I've gone through some of those, milestones or whatever, like journeys in life that I'm like, I don't want to date somebody who has small children. I
Right.
don't want somebody living in my space. I want to date, I want to be accompanied to places, but I don't really need you up in my face all the time because I have a full life, right?
Yeah.
Versus the me that was, before I got married, like in my early 30s, I would have been like, oh, I want the house and the white picket fence and the da 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 da, right? Like the thing that we're conditioned and sold that we should aspire to. And you said it like perfectly, is that, some people are fortunate in their journeys where they find their partner and they have longevity, and that's wonderful. But then there's a segment that, you can have longevity, but that doesn't always equal quality. There's some people who are partnered who are very unhappily
Mhm.
partnered. And as women, when we look historically, when I think about my grandparents and things like that, it's like, yeah, they were married 50 plus years, but, also women didn't have rights. And so,
Exactly.
when you held up to, people have these unrealistic expectations like, oh,
Right.
well, my grandparents were married, X amount of years. And it's like, yeah, but women didn't have the right to own property. They didn't
Yeah.
have like,
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah.
And that's what I said. It's not really success, and it's not failure either. So I think sometimes when
Mm,
people have their own, we all in some way, right? It become
mm,
defensive when we're like, "Oh, she's talking about me." So whenever I used to say like a long marriage doesn't necessarily mean a successful marriage, doesn't
mm,
mean failure either. What I mean by that is that like success is not just we're in a relationship.
yeah.
Success needs to include my needs are being fulfilled and I am getting what I deserve out of
Hmm.
this. My highest self is being seen and valued in
Hmm.
this. And that could be dating, that could be marriage, it could be anything. And so that's
Hmm.
like just the fact that you're with. I've never felt more. I'll finish that first off. Just because you're with someone doesn't mean that you should be. That aside,
Mm,
I have never felt more lonely than when I was with a partner who was not meeting my needs. That
mhm. Yeah.
and and that is worse than me just being on my own. And I've had to learn that the hard way a couple times because we don't always
Mhm.
learn the lesson the first time that it's taught to us.
Very
Uh,
true.
so that I would say for sure. But and also going back to what you said earlier about being a pick me girl or just kind of like how we start. I don't think we talk about that enough. Of like,
Mhm.
how do we get to where we came? I did a show called "I Fucked Your Country," and it was about just
Ooh, I love that.
it's a
I had
woman
like a
show.
visual, like a vagina with passport stamps.
I love it, but it was a one woman show that
Open the
we.
labia, and then there's passport control.
Extra pages falling out and everything. It's great. I love it. Oh yeah, so that show came out. My agent and I were talking about my book, and she had this observation. And she
Mhm.
said, when you talk about like your own family, like real personal stuff, you talking about it as if you're describing someone else. Like you go like 50 feet away, right?
Mhm.
You're talking about something that's funny or something that's interesting you like, and like you're engaged with it in your brain and people along, and it's like you walk into this room and shut everybody out when you're talking about your family. And so I was
Mm.
like, I can do that when I'm talking to people, but in writing, I need to work on that. And that's how that show came about. It was called I Fucked Your Country, and it was funny, and we had a blast with it. The Washington Post, Broadway reviews, we had amazing rave reviews around and sold it out. So it did really well. And the way that show came about was that I thought, okay, well, what I'm going to do is like, because I've been writing, like I said, about sex for almost 30 years, like 25, 26 years or something. And
Mhm.
that's like columns I've written for Health Magazine. I've been in Essence. I've been written for Time Out New York. I had a column, first Black American woman with a syndicated sex column, magazines and newspapers. So like I've been doing this for a while. And it was like, so the book, thank you. So the book, the agent was like, you need to really talk about the personal stuff. So that's how I
Mm.
got the idea for the show. I'm going to talk about how we don't really discuss how we came to dating.
Mm.
Talk about dating as if it's just something that starts. We don't talk about what we learned or didn't learn from our parents about what it means to love a partner. We don't
Mhm.
talk about like how we felt when we were children, when people were picking us or not picking us. I still remember the first time I liked a guy who liked me back, and it just felt amazing.
Mm.
I was, oh, I think I broke up for just a second. Can you hear me and see me?
I can hear you. You got a little pixelated.
Oh, okay. There we go. I think it's better. Let me know if it doesn't work.
Mhm.
Okay. But I still remember the first time I was saying that I liked a guy and he liked me back. And like that just like felt over. I was used to liking men who didn't like me because I'm 50. So this means that when I was puberty and coming of age, at least in the United States, the most beautiful black women were women who didn't look black. And so like that was very much this like
Mm.
obsession with proximity to whiteness. So like Lisa Bonet, lighter skin, Vanessa Williams being Miss America with light eyes
Mhm.
too. And so like there weren't like the Lupitas, you know, like
Mhm.
when I was younger. There weren't the Olandrias when I
Yeah.
was younger. So like the black women who had dark skin and were still called beautiful. Not
Mhm.
anyway, but because they were and they are,
Yeah.
right? That wasn't
Mhm.
happening when I was a little girl. And so like for me, the first time that a guy liked me back, I was claws in, and I was very just like, well, I got to hang on to this because I don't know how often this is going to happen. And so my earlier
Mm.
years, I think I held on more. Like if something wasn't working, well, you never know, you know. And so I think a lot of my earlier dating years, I hung on more than I should have. I should have walked away from some stuff that I didn't because I was
Mm.
holding out. And I think some of that was shaped by these younger years of they picked me too, right? Like I
Mhm.
liked them and they liked me, and that doesn't happen all the time. And getting
Mhm.
really excited about that, right?
Mhm.
And so all of these kinds of things of like how we learn to love and how we like what we settle for and what we don't.
Yeah.
And so my earlier dating years were a lot of that, right? And then I grew up evangelical Christian and very conservative, Illinois and
Ooh.
Mississippi. And so I
Mhm.
wasn't having sex with people. I mean, everything but, that's what they say, right? Everything but sex. I had penises in my mouth and everywhere else. Like I could as long as it doesn't go in my vagina, it's not sex. And so that was the whole thing. So I was doing a lot of other shit, right? And so the first time that I had sex was in England. And a big
Mhm.
part of that was I was like, I'm away from my family,
Mhm.
I'm away from my church. These boys think I'm pretty. That doesn't happen to me all the time. And so like I ended up having sex with this guy that like his name's Jeff, and I didn't change it because it's his actual name. And
Mhm.
so like I had sex with him for the first time, and I was just like, this is great. And because it was so delayed, I was in my 20s already. So because it was so delayed, and I was like, I want to know if this feels so good because it's like he's just really good at this, and this is like what it's like with us, or if this is just like what sex is. I need to find
Mm.
out. right? So that was the genesis of the show. I fucked your country.
Wow. It's like, okay, this was good, but I need to see some more, right? I need some
Let's
more data points.
Yeah. And so my dating world, like after, I was out of my 20s and being out there, like
Mhm,
that has also fielded too. It moved from people don't always pick me. And so when they pick me and I pick them back, like I was the guys who liked me, I didn't like them. And then the guys I liked, they didn't like me. And so when it worked
mhm,
out, it was like, let's see how this goes. Like no one's perfect. I'm not perfect. They're not perfect. So
mhm.
maybe this didn't work. And I would just hang out until I was like literally had enough. And it was like enough, like when a woman's fed up, like I was out, like I was out. And it had to get to that point
Yeah.
before I would be like, we're definitely gone. Now it's like, no. Most recent experience was this Danish guy who I've since learned don't say people's real names, but Jeff and I laugh about that. But this Danish guy who I will not name, politician. And so, like, we were talking or whatever and planning to meet up for our first date, And he wanted to give me a heads up that he's a very playful and, flirtatious person. And his ex had all these issues because, like, he'd be at dinner and maybe he's flirting with a waitress, or with women at the other table. And she'd get very jealous about that.
Mhm,
And I told him, like, if we're on a date and you start flirting with the waitress or people at the table next to me, I'm getting my ass up and I'm literally walking away and we're
mhm.
never speaking to each other again. That's not about jealousy, that's about respect. We don't
Mhm,
know each other. And so when I give you my time to sit down at dinner together for
mhm.
us to try and get to know who we are and if we have mutual interest in each other and things like that, and the most important thing to you is to get an ego stroke by flirting with a fucking waitress, like
Mhm.
I'm not interested. I'll get up and
Yeah.
leave. And so it's like I think so much of how we date and what we want are formed in those younger years and
Mhm.
matures. And for me, it was a sense of dating men from other countries and realizing you don't ever have to actually marry. You
Yeah.
can literally date people for as long as it works for you two. In my mind, I literally see it like me holding my hand out and that other person holding mine, and we walk up this path together for as long as the path makes the most sense for us.
Yeah.
And at some
Mhm,
point, maybe we hit a fork and we both decide to go this way, or we both decide to go that way,
mhm,
or maybe we decide to go our own ways.
mhm.
That's not failure. That's not inherent success. It just means
Mm,
what we had was what it was for when it was, and now
mhm,
we're going on to other things. And I'm grateful. I've learned so much from the people that I dated. I dated this
mhm.
scientist who was finding a cure for Alzheimer's, and I was like, that's so fascinating. I was like, he
Mhm.
was from Sweden. I've dated everybody, girl, and so he was. And this was back in New York, and I was like, what does that look like? When you say finding a cure for Alzheimer's, like, are you sitting somewhere with gloves on, like cutting brains up? Are you sitting behind a computer writing art?
Mhm.
Like, what does that look like? He's like, you want to come to the hospital? I could take you to the hospital. I was like, yeah. So I literally had to go in and see, I think, I won't name the hospital, but I got to go into the place where he went and saw kind of like their Alzheimer's research.
Wow.
And so I've just also like been exposed to different worlds. And so I think when it comes to being a Black woman dating in another country, the country isn't necessarily just Portugal or Spain
Mhm,
or Ghana or Bangladesh or wherever you are. You're also being introduced to a different way of seeing things,
mhm,
different lived experiences,
mhm,
a world that lives inside of that person that you're dating as well. And so
mhm.
it's also this beautiful opportunity where you get to know each other for that.
Oh,
Is it
yeah.
beautiful as it should be? No. A lot of people got red pilled during COVID, which we got to talk about that. And then we
Mhm.
also got to talk about just like the actual state of the world and
Yeah.
what that means for dating. We're the
Mhm,
first generation, Black women, we don't use this word or this
mhm,
framing. South Africans have the born free generation, right? The people
mhm,
who were first born. My mom went to segregated schools. As were legal in the United States and enforceable by
mhm,
law until 65. Interracial marriages, marriage of different, were banned and illegal until
mhm,
67. And so I was born in 75. And
mhm,
so, and women couldn't have their own bank accounts, credit
Yep.
cards, all of that until the 70s, 73. And,
Exactly.
and so we're this generation that has no name. Black
Mhm.
women, wherever
Mhm.
you may find a Black American women, because these are Americans
Mhm.
I'm talking about. So as we go outside of that world and live within the world in general, people joke this is the first generation of women who haven't needed to rely on men. And so now this is the most single generation as well. There's
Yes.
a
And
huge
that is
amount
an interesting dynamic because it's like, and there's this, you probably have seen it more well versed on the research, right? The lonely men loneliness epidemic.
yes.
Because to your point, and it's a sound one, it's like I was having this conversation with my mom the other day. I said, of her three children, so my brothers are 9 and 11 years older than me. I was born in 74. So I was like, of your three children, I'm the only one who was born with her full rights,
Yeah.
right? As a woman, as a Black person, right? I didn't have to, I didn't go to segregated schools. I had the right to vote. I had the ability to, own property. I bought my first house at 28, right? So there were, my ex-husband is white. So there's certain things that did not, like, weren't headwinds. Didn't mean I didn't have headwinds, right? But
Yeah.
that weren't headwinds. And so now fast forward, like I said, long divorce and all this stuff. And I'm, financially secure, I'm retired. There's just I've had my career and things like that, had my children.
Yes.
I'm not, when some of the men that I've encountered, it's almost like being treated like a unicorn, and it's like, well, one thing that I have learned in my journey, especially living abroad and being more expansive, is I reject that scarcity mindset. Like, I reject that, we're not desired. I reject the notion that, we are, the tail, right? Like, it's because you have to flip it on its head. And as I started to navigate that and be more comfortable, it has helped with discernment. Just
Yeah.
like you said, like the guy, he was trying to test. Oh, well, my ex did this. Oh gosh, like, please don't do that. So I can have justification to do that in front of you. And it's
Yeah.
like,
That's what it's grooming. That's exactly what it was. He was grooming.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
But, like, it takes some time knowing yourself, having dating experience, knowing the type of men that you'll encounter, because to men right now, and then, the passport bros and stuff like that, right? And
Yes.
then kind of what we're seeing with the release of these Epstein files is like, you know, and boy, Black women, we dodged a bullet,
Yeah.
okay? Because they were like, no Black women on Epstein Island. Look,
No.
rejection is protection,
Protection.
okay? Just saying.
Oh my
But
gosh. Yes.
it's like, as you start to kind of look at this whole landscape, at least for me, it's helped me with my discernment
Yes.
and what I will tolerate, what I won't tolerate, recognizing that there are going to be natural breaks in my dating where I'm like, you know what? I've had enough for now, kind of catalog, because for men, they have been socialized to be the provider, even if they aren't the provider, even if they don't have the leadership backbone and skills. They've had this perception of, well, I got a penis, that's enough. Like
Mhm.
the last entanglement I was with, I kind of was like, oh, I just want to have a conversation about like where we are and things like that after we spend some time together. And it was like, oh, I don't want a relationship. It was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And then it was like,
Okay.
okay, and did not flip out. I was like, okay, no
Yeah.
problem. Thank you, appreciate the clarity. And I was like, well, you sleeping with anybody else? And no, but that doesn't mean I can't. I'm a
Yeah.
man. And I was like, at this big old age,
Wow.
12. And
Yeah.
I was like, look, no more, because I was like, some of these guys want to be treated as princesses. They want to be the ones that are like, oh, treat me with the soft. Like, I was like, look, no more Mitches, right? You got to have a
Yeah.
certain energy, right? You have to have a certain energy, and not just the energy, but I'm looking for somebody who is a provider, somebody who's not going to bring out in me my more masculine dominant side because I've had to rear my children and kind of take care of a household. I want to be firmly planted in my feminine, have my bomb ass time with my girls, take myself around the world. Like, you know, guys today, because we are owning our own homes, we have our own bank accounts, we have our own identity. Like, we are looking for character, integrity, right? Alignment. And it seems in some spaces that they can't even rise to that bar. And it's like, and so as a woman who is well within her skin and full rights as a human being, it's like, ooh, the patriarchy, y'all done got by for a long ass time. I was like, wait
Yeah.
a minute. So I
Exactly.
see more and more women opting out because they themselves are coming to this realization that, okay, like, I'm not asking you to pay my bills. It'd be nice if you did, but I'm not asking you to pay my bills, do all this other stuff. I'm
Right.
just asking you to plan a date, show up, be consistent with your word and action, communicate.
Right.
And that seems like a bridge too far. Like, that seems like that explodes your emotional capacity. And so a lot of women are like, oh, nah, I'm good.
Yeah. If this is what's offered, I'm not eating, kind of thing.
Yeah, I'll starve.
Yeah, and I think there's so many rich nuggets in everything you said there, and it makes me think of two things in particular. One, what it means for us to actually screen and filter the type of people that we want, to be with, what that is. And then two, the thought that patriarchy and sexism hurts everyone, including men.
Mm.
So I'm going
Mhm.
to start with that one first. I think often when we talk about any systems of equality, racism, sexism, transphobia,
Mhm.
homophobia, like anything that you can imagine, right? The conventional wisdom is that the person who is being subjected to oppression is being hurt by it. And the person who is doing the hurting is the person who's benefiting from it, right? And I do think that we need to really have a different way of thinking of how inhumanity destroys our souls. So,
Mm.
like, for example, take a person who has a job that involves them treating other people inhumanely. Any job in today's society, right? That part of your job is that you treat people inhumanely. You know you're doing inhumane stuff. They know it. You're looking around other people doing even more inhumane things than you do, and you're part of this again to the natural world, living being,
Mhm.
being affected by and seeing and observing all of these things. There's so many lessons to be learned from the U.S. too, but the U.S. doesn't like to look at itself in a lot of ways. So let's say Germany. So many lessons of people who, after World War II, what the war did to the people who were soldiers, right? What they
Mhm.
did, mostly what it did to their souls, how they came back, and things like that.
Mhm.
Oppression hurts the oppressor as well.
Yeah.
And so when we think about what's going on in the dating world and these lonely men and men who can't communicate and all of these things, sexism hurt men too. Because if I'm having the shittiest day of my life and I want to cry, open mouth, ugly cry, and call up somebody and say, this is what happened. And there is no shortage of women that I can call. No
Mhm.
shortage of women that I can call and say, here's what happened. And be my full, ugly, broken, cry type stuff, and it's all good. And I'm going to get support. I'm going to get love. I'm going to get care. They might come over and cook for me or tell me to come to their house. Like, I would feel supported, loved, and nurtured,
Mhm.
truly. There are so many men in which not only do they not have friends, they don't feel that they could do that.
Mm.
The ugly cry, right? Like do that openly and not be judged by the people around and not feel like they've somehow failed at being a man and being strong and all of these things. And that does something to their soul as well.
Yeah.
As we think of straight dating, because we're talking about women and men, but that's obviously not the entirety of it. And we
Mm-hmm.
think of women who are dating men, right? And so men saying, "I want this, I want that," and I need to be treated like a princess too. And it's like not really having the full humanity granted to them due to
Mm-hmm.
sexism. And I think this is what's happening. On the one hand, you've got men who actually, you know what? Let's make it fun. Let's call it Bizarro World. We live in a Bizarro world, and here's the history of this world. Women have always oppressed men.
Mm-hmm.
Women made it illegal for men to go get education. Women made men take their last name because they saw them as property once they married. Women could have credit cards, could buy houses, could be paid more than men for the same job, could do all of these things. Women had rights over their offspring. Women's reproductive bodies weren't, considered political, obviously, were women, right? Men's were
Mm-hmm.
control theirs, all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
Women subjected men to violence so frequently that every city in every country on the globe has domestic violence shelters where men can hide from women. And they
Mm-hmm.
rarely publish their addresses because women would go there and kill them. And actually, the percentage of men who've been assaulted by women is 1 in 4. And when men are in a relationship and they turn up missing or killed, the most likely person who did it is the woman who was with. Like, this is this world, right? And so now men are like, you know what? Enough. We're just going to not date women
Mm-hmm.
anymore. We're going to come over here. We're going to regroup. We're going to, have our wine. We're going to, have men's nights and men's trips. And we're just going to like kind of heal, basically, because we've all got stories about how we need to heal from the woman we were with. Like, this is what we're going to do. So the media, who's run by women, have
Mm-hmm.
decided this is awful. We're going to call this the women's loneliness epidemic because now the women are, this is how crazy this shit is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
This is how incredibly crazy this shit is.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Mm-hmm.
like, I think that,
Living in the upside down.
yeah. And so whenever I hear the male loneliness epidemic, and some others have said the
Yeah.
same type of thing, that if you turn that on its head, like, what
Mm-hmm.
the hell are we talking about this male loneliness
Yeah.
epidemic?
Yeah.
And so I think that there's a lot that we need to, that men need to really kind of step up to and really face about what sexism and patriarchy has done to their souls, because I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that they've come out of that unscathed.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah, I think it's a reckoning happening around the world in various
yes.
settings, right? There's a political reckoning. Certainly, the United States is going through
Mhm.
another period of tumult, and that also translates into the dating world. And I think for me, there was a bit of naivete when I approached the idea of dating abroad. It was like, oh, I'm going to pick myself up and being in this foreign country,
Mhm.
and the men are going to be different, right, than what I experienced in my home country. And that's just geography, right? Like,
100%, 100%. Look at exactly.
right? It was like, wait, I'm in, Portugal, I'm in Spain. I'm like, oh, so they are who they are, right? And it's not all men with a broad brush, because obviously it's not the case. But it's just to say that, we have to like take the shine off of it. It's easy when you're, at least when I look at my time getting through those years in the States, because I decided to move abroad in 2017, but I didn't actually move abroad to 2023. So a lot of it was holding on to hope and, what my life would be like and imagining, this future state. And part of that imagination was, oh, I'm going to go here and I'm going to be going out every night and da 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 da. And these men are going to be like, and it's just like, oh, like men are men. Right?
Yeah, really,
Right?
I love that.
Right? Like the sky is blue and
Yeah,
water is wet, right? Like it was just
yeah.
like, oh, I had to like, it burst my own bubble. And so that is to say, like, maybe that resonates with somebody who's watching this and they may have had these ideas of what things would be like, or the inverse, thinking that, okay, I've had these experiences in my home country and may not have had a successful relationship. And
Right.
so now, even though I'm in this new country, I'm closed off because I don't know if I want to be seen in that way. I don't want to be objectified. I don't want to deal with the fetishism. Like there are certain things because of, patriarchy worldwide and, the objectification and sexualization of Black women. And then, not for nothing, part of it, that whole rap twerking culture, right? What we don't realize as a people is the things that people like about America are things that were created by Black people.
Oh,
And
that's
you
true.
can go to any country. I don't care if you don't know the language, they're going to be playing our music,
Yeah.
right? You're going to at least be able to dance. You're going to be in the Uber, you're going to be in the clubs,
Yeah.
whatever, right? And so, because our culture is heavily exported to other cultures, and then these things are seen, that don't think that that doesn't influence how men in these other cultures, if they have no basis of comparison, will see. Not to say you have to carry that burden, but at
Right.
the same time, you also need to have a level of awareness. So that has informed or allowed me to ask better questions
Yeah.
in the earlier stages of dating to discern, are you spending time with me because you find me exotic? All of those things that fit more into the fetishism, this idealism category,
Right.
versus recognizing that I am a full ass human being, a grown ass woman who probably got more money than your ass. So you better come correct. So, those are some of the things that I've had to like navigate. And again, it's like and also I'm not being jaded by the experience because there, in earlier times I would like shut down. Okay, no, that's it. I'm like, no, I use it now, kind of like how you did with that first person that you had sex with. You're like, oh, wait, I gotta find out. Is this because of
Yeah.
this dude? I gotta find out. So now I'm
Yeah.
like curious. I'm more like, okay, this is data, right?
Yeah.
And having a level of excitement and curiosity about it. But again, sharpening the discernment, because all that is going to do is enable me, not saying that I have a person, but it's going to allow me to have better interactions when I do give someone something that is genuine and inherently something that can't be gotten back, which is time. I
Yeah.
am I am almost 52 years old, right?
Hmm.
I may or may not have another 52 years on this planet, right? I've lived more than half of my life, most likely.
Yes.
So my time is extremely important. Like
Yeah.
this one guy today was like, oh, yeah, I'm you gonna be around. And this was like the second interaction on the app. And I was like, it was like, hi, oh, I'm gonna be in this town. You gonna be around? The fuck I do a last minute invite? And then it was like coffee. Bitch, a coffee in Portugal costs less than €1.
Yeah.
You think
Exactly.
I will take my hand out, shower, go in this monsoon for a fucking cup of coffee? Are
No.
you kidding me right
No.
now? So
No.
it's like, but
Oh,
again, it's data, right? It allows you to
yeah.
ask better questions. Like, okay, observing. Okay, how does this person interact when
Yeah.
they see Black people, when they see Black women? Do they have interactions or, Black people in their lives or
Right.
a history with Black women? Like, there are ways where you can start to tease out and weed out
Yeah.
and discern, because this way you're not putting yourself in a position where you're vulnerable to someone who is not going to honor you and give you the care and concern that you deserve.
Oh, I love this. I've got tons of tips and advice, and I haven't like. I often joke that like I've had so many European and white partners that my throat tastes like vanilla, and so I have. you, you almost spit your wine out.
Bad timing on my part.
It's like liquid death. And so I have some tips, suggestions, and advice about like what about the fetishism stuff that I can talk about for days. Okay, so here's some ways to get into it, right? And actually, some of these are just great questions for dating. Period. One, once you've been with someone a couple times or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, I'm having a good time. What do you like about me?" That's a great question because the answers will either be like, "You just have so much flavor, and your skin is so beautiful," and you get like, "Oh, okay, now," or whatever. Or they
Mhm.
actually see you as a human being, and so they'll tell you what in particular they like about you. So the "What do you like about me?" is a great question for a partner that you are considering dating. That's a good one to start. Other types of things are like if you're talking about, for example, the Oscars coming up and super excited about it. Oh my God, I saw Sinners twice at the theater and I was so glad to see that it got like 16 nominations, the most
Mhm.
any film has ever gotten. That's amazing. That's so good. Did you see it? And they say yes or no or whatever. What was that like for you to see Black American culture, especially the history of it, right? Like, what was that
Mhm.
experience like for you? Listen to what they say. Like just hear kind of what are they calling out, what do they see, things like that. Just if there's any kind of cultural touchstone, a book, a film, or anything that you're doing, right? Like, oh my gosh, everybody was talking about this film instead. I spent my weekend watching Becoming on Netflix again with
Same.
Obama. And she's just so great. And, being from Southside Chicago like me, it's so good, like, gosh, what's it like in your town? Where are you from again? Like, are there Black people there? Did you grow up going to school together? Was there a neighborhood they were in and you weren't? Or what was that experience like for you? What did you learn from that?
Mhm.
Like, what did those experiences teach you? What did you learn from that? All of these kinds of things. Um, and then I ask about past partners too, not just like thrilling kind of thing, but like when you're learning about them and they're saying, "Oh, my ex, oh, was she from your country? Have you ever dated someone who wasn't from your country before?" Yeah, da, 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 da. Have you dated people who were from your country but from a different ethnicity before? What was that like? And so, like, just asking all kinds of questions. And I think in general, like you said earlier, like it's all data.
Mhm.
So, so true. So, so true about it's not the answer they give. There's not a right or wrong one to any of those.
Mhm.
That's more data that they're giving you about how they view people who look like you, right?
Yeah.
It's all data points. How their exposure to go to school, their exposure to what they find appealing when they see someone who looks like you. Is it
Mhm.
just they're only able to see this, or do they see inside too?
Mhm.
These are great questions to just ask someone because you'll never know. And like, because no one's going to tell you the fucking truth, right? Like,
Yeah.
you can ask someone, "Are you trying to gaslight me?" No one's going to say yes.
Yeah, right.
No one tells the fucking truth about those things, right? And so you have to ask questions that get you the type of data that you
Mhm.
want. So I find that to be incredibly helpful to do those.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
asking questions in a way that reflect you truly want data. Seeking data is not the same as expecting an answer. Here,
Mm.
I expect an answer. Are you married? And any married man knows the answer to that if he's dating is no, for the most part. If that's, I expect him to be single. I'm going to ask this question because I expect an answer and I know
Mhm.
what the answer is supposed to be.
Mhm.
Like, I didn't say all those things, but that question tells me that's what I'm getting at.
Mhm.
Here's a different way of getting at the same thing. Like, oh, one of the things that's so interesting about the way that people date now is there's like polyamorous people and people thankfully are like more open about their sexuality too. And so
Mhm.
people previously who may have been in the download, like, fuck that, like be who you are and love who you want type of stuff.
Mhm.
Like it's really cool. And I also see it even in like straight couples who are dating, like there's more flexibility and openness about
Mhm.
what does non-monogamy look like for them. Like how has that showed up in your life? Like what are you into, period? Like what do
Mhm.
you feel about all that stuff? Are those kinds of things? That's data question.
Yeah.
You're trying to get like how like and they'll answer, well, like actually, I'm in a relationship with someone, but we're separated. Oh, really? Okay. So you're gonna get more info that you actually need when you
Mhm.
data instead of answers.
Yeah, that's true because it more one is more allows more room for them to kind of be open about how they see it, because you also get the data, but you also kind of get how they're thinking about it,
Yes.
because they have to articulate it, versus the other ones was like, oh yeah, I'm married, or no, I'm not, kind of
Yeah.
is closed and it ends it, versus
Yeah.
like, well, kind of, well, I we filed the papers, but we still ain't go before the judge, and like all that stuff.
Exactly. I'm not in a married man. It's like,
Yeah.
the only a married man can show me is his single fucking friends. Like I'm so not
Yeah, yeah. Because now I'm like, are you married? No. Okay. Are you in a relationship? No. Does anybody think they're in a relationship with you? Right? Like, now you got to really ask these jokers these questions. Because to your point, right?
exactly.
There's
Yeah.
ethical non-monogamy. There's
Yeah.
polyamory. There are men who sleep with
Exactly.
men. There's,
Yes.
people like, there is a gamut. And I prefer to meet people, organically versus on the apps, but nevertheless, you gotta fish where the fish are.
Mhm.
But as much as I don't swipe right on the non-monogamy,
Mhm.
ethical non-monogamy, the kink and all that, right? Like, I respect it,
Mhm.
because I'm like, at least it helps me filter,
Yeah.
versus the people who either clearly, when you're like, oh, wait a minute, something doesn't look, and now
Right.
I gotta play, detective,
Yeah.
that's just expending mental energy. And it's like,
Yes.
no, that's the difference between accepting the data for what it is versus dating for potential,
Right.
or trying to create a narrative and fill this storyline. It's like, no, I actually have more respect for the people like, I'm into 420 and I've got,
Mhm.
my girlfriend, but she dates other people, or whatever the case is. It's
Yeah.
like, I may not, or even sometimes accidentally, because I'll be like, swip, and I'm like, oh, I matched with someone else. Oh shit, I didn't even catch that. You a smoker? Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, right. Like, I've had that happen, but I've also had issues, people, even that last one, where it's like, oh well, I smoke on occasion, but then you had on there you don't smoke, right? Like, right? Because or I remember this one guy, he was Sri Lankan, and he was like, oh, he was smoking. Oh, I gotta go for a cigarette. I'm like, I thought you don't smoke, because I'm very clear on that one. Oh no, because I knew you wouldn't like me if I what?
I immediately, anyone who there's any discrepancy, because
Yes.
I've been on all the apps over years and met people organically. The Irish guy that I met, who's the last guy that I dated in the US before I moved here, met me a friend of a friend. And so his friend was a journalist, and that friend is my friend too. And so
Mhm.
that's where we meet, and that's how we met. The German guy that I dated here, we met on Tinder. I was like, my app is blowing up. I didn't realize back then, now I know when you go to another place, it puts you as a brand new profile. And so all the fresh blood, and they all kind of go. And so, like, when you go to a new place, it puts you there for them. And so I just got.
Mhm.
So I've met people organically. I've met people via friends of friends. I've met people on apps. Like, I've met people all kinds of ways. And so the apps thing, the second there's any discrepancy, I'm out. Because here's the thing, right? Like, and if you're dating, if you've never used apps, or if you're using apps and trying to find a way to get better at it, kind of thing, if there's anything, because it says 52 is the age, and then you read it, it's like, I'm actually 54. It's like, if you're going to goddamn lie to me when I don't know you and there's
Mhm.
nothing in the hook or whatever, like, I'm not going to believe one motherfucking word that comes out of your mouth.
Not one.
You're going to, like, no. So if there's any gap, no. So I
Mhm.
suggest, and again, make your own rules. I'm just telling you the way that I do it. Like, if there's any gap, no, they're out. The other thing is, don't use AI to build your profile. So many people are
Mm.
using Grok, Claude, ChatGPT, all these different AI to like build their dating apps profiles. And what happens is everybody starts looking and sounding similar. It's this
Mm.
muted kind of, like corporate voice for dating, basically. And so it just has this really kind of bland type of thing. And so the thing is that what you're looking for? Like, are you looking to find a corporate blend? Like, no. And so I say, just write. If you have typos, you have typos. If it's
Mm.
like a long run on sentence, you have it. Like, the best thing that you can do for yourself if you're using an app is be yourself, because
Yeah.
the person that you want to attract is ideally what you're looking for. So the
Mhm.
more just out there you can be. I don't have makeup on in my photos. I have a video of me
Mhm.
trying to speak Portuguese. and they like talk about my cat, I think, or whatever. And when they meet me, it's going to be exactly that person.
Yeah.
And that's what I want for them. And so I'm
Mhm.
all for if you don't want a smoker and you saw that somebody said that they were a smoker and you're like, that's not me, no harm in saying, you know what, I'm out. And so it's
Mhm.
okay to like use the filters, read the profiles, kind of say yes or no. I feel
Yeah.
like dating apps, when they're at their best, they basically put you at a table, in a room, in a bed, whatever, in a car, right? Like with someone that you would have met anyway. The universe hadn't made you cross paths, but
Mhm.
similar interests, you have similar values, you're physically attracted to each other. Like in some other way, you probably would have met anyway. Like when it works at its best, it
Mhm.
brings you someone who you probably would have dated anyway. That's when it's at its
Mhm.
best, right? When it's at its worst, you're sitting at a date, like at a table or in a car, and like you're with someone who you would never, ever, ever have met under any circumstances in which you hadn't. Like
Mhm.
the values aren't aligned. You're not. They don't look like they did in the picture. Not attracted to each other, whatever. So it's like an experience is going to be the best of the best, the worst of the worst, or
Mhm.
somewhere in between. And so
Yeah.
I'm forward, like explore, have fun.
Mhm. Yeah. And like I said, any I agree. Anybody who has me doing like the detective gadget thing, like I can't. This one guy years ago, he had on his profile that he was a widow,
Yeah.
and so we went on a couple dates and things like that, and then and I did my Googles, and I was like, oh, okay, he said, oh, I used to live in this town, and he pulled up the
Yeah.
records, whatever, and then I remember pulling up something. I think because God speaks to you in whispers. I think it
Yeah.
was something to the effect that it just made me look at her name, and I found the obituary, and I'm reading it, and I'm just like no mention of dude, and I'm like, wait, the dates aren't matching up, and so I'm like, what the fuck? So I said,
Wait,
like, I
what?
thought you was a widow. No, they were divorced. His ex-wife died. I was like, bitch, that don't make you a widow. That
Oh
means your
my
ex-wife took
god!
the benefit. I'm like,
Oh
see,
my
this is
god!
the shit
Let me
that's
spell that.
infuriating.
Oh my god!
Like, so that's why I was like, I just ask better questions.
Yes. Oh my god! Yeah.
I
Even
was like, now if I didn't,
but
do my little Inspector Gadget, I wouldn't have,
oh my gosh.
but like clearly you got to do your homework. 'Cause I
Yeah.
was like,
Right. People are
what?
so. Oh, they're so.
Oh man. Oh man. Okay,
Yeah.
so we had a
Yeah.
bunch of questions.
Okay.
So we're gonna go through these. So Jess wants to know, what are the proceed with caution signals, the safety protocols?
Ooh, safety protocols. I think that we have to think differently about how we consider safety.
Hmm.
Uh, Safety is a state of mind. It's not a reality. And so, for example, people say, "Oh, Portugal's very safe," or "The Netherlands is very safe." So and so place is very safe. As Americans, we have like the fire signs are going off. Right? Like we're very kind of like we there is a higher level of violence in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And so, even if you tell me cutting through this dark park at night is completely safe, I'm not going to feel safe. I would
Mm-hmm.
feel worried 3 o'clock in the morning cutting through a dark park on my own to get home. Maybe it is safe, but safety is a state of mind. So when you ask the question about like what are the safety protocols and how do we stay safe, I would say we have to think of that. That's going to be different for different people. What feels
Mm-hmm.
safe for one person feels scary for another one. And so it's really about determining for yourself what makes you feel safe. Me, for example, I would never meet a first date or have him pick me up on my home. He doesn't need to know
Mm-hmm.
where I live. I don't want him coming back here like for a first date. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
really having that person anywhere in my house. I don't know them. They're a stranger, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so safety for me is much more about I'm only going to reveal as much as myself to them as I feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Depending on the guy, it could be completely different because
Mm-hmm.
safety is a state of mind, not an actual reality, right? So making sure that we clock in with like how we actually feel about those things. And then as
Mhm.
far as just general protocols that are general, a good idea, letting people know when you go because you're in another country, you may or may not speak the language. Whenever you're going out with someone out, just tell someone where you're going, who the person
Mhm.
is. I screenshot profiles, like so it's also like this is the specific person that I'm going to send it. So I just general thing. I don't tend to go places without people knowing where I am, especially if it's with someone I don't know. Right? There's that. Google the shit out of everybody, and so I love Googling their username because people tend to use the same usernames across different things. And so their other dating profiles might pop up or their Reddit profile, anything might pop up. So not only their name, but also the username that they're using because people tend to use the same ones. So that's just more information, more data about who this person could be. So I think that
Mhm.
that's a really good thing to do. I would not go on trips and or remote places. Like I'm an avid hiker, super active in Girl Trek back when I was in DC, and so like super duper hiker. This other guy was super duper hiker. He's like, we should go on a hike together. Not for a first date. I'm not going out.
I ain't about to get got, bruh.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm not going in the woods with a goddamn stranger. And so, yeah.
No.
And so, also just like that, trips, do as I say, not as I do. I totally ran away to Italy with this random dude ages ago. I was like, I'm
Mhm.
getting married in a castle in Italy. And I didn't know him long at all. And just like, he flew me. So I was like, all right. And I went to Italy and like had fun and stuff. But generally speaking, not a good idea to go to
Mhm.
another third like country outside of where you are with
Mm.
someone you don't know that well. Make sure that you get a little bit more information about them and all of those things. And if you do decide to do that, put your location tracking on, like so that
Yes.
people know where you are. Right? Tell people where you're going. That's just a
Mhm.
good general safety protocol.
Mhm. Yeah, and if you get yourself in a situation and things are going left, just be like, "Look, I have a horrific venereal disease. Like, you don't want this." Right.
And speaking of sexually transmitted infections and talking about safety, we should also mention that seniors tend to have extremely high STI infection rates and HIV
Mm.
rates than younger people because people
Wow.
sometimes, especially straight people, women, black women, once we've gone through that menopause, like, oh, I don't have to worry about pregnancy. You do have to worry about chlamydia, gonorrhea,
Mm. Mhm.
HIV, tons of other things that are sexually transmitted. And so, as that last question about safety, we should also mention too that, especially as we get older and go through menopause, we often
Mhm.
forget that safety isn't just pregnancy prevention, it's also making sure that you're not transmitting an STI. And seniors tend to have very high rates because it's like, oh, that, of course, the kids put a condom on it and had to wrap it up, but like an
Mhm.
80-year-old man's not necessarily thinking of putting a condom on it, right? So, we have to also continue those safety protocols as we get older when it comes to STIs.
Mhm. Great advice. Organic Cloven had said, dating here in Malaga, Spain has been nothing but enjoyable. Dated Belgium, Spaniards, British, African, Italian, Argentinian, Slovenian, Czech, and Colombian. Go ahead. All right
Get those
now.
stamps. You get those stamps.
Right. Got them stamps. Got them stamps. All right. Just wanted to know, do men approach you and ask for your number?
Younger men know. They ask for your Instagram. Younger men are going to ask for your Instagram because the number is just a way to contact you. But like
Mm.
younger men realize if you want to contact me, you can do WhatsApp, you can do IG, you can do a million ways to do that. So it's a smarter way of saying it. So they'll ask to trade IGs because your Instagram is going to tell a story of you, right?
Mm.
One is going to tell them how much you cost as far as like maintaining a lifestyle. Like if you're posting pictures in different countries all the time and going to nice restaurants, they're taking that as data. Like, oh, this is
Mm.
what she expects when she's dating. And so younger men tend to ask for IGs because it tells them how much is this going to cost me as far as being in a relationship and who is this person. And so
Mm.
younger men tend to ask for IGs, older men will ask for numbers via WhatsApp.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then let's stay on this thread before I take another question.
Sure.
So, as a woman in her 50s, because I've had this like, I went on like a meet and greet with the 36-year-old and a dalliance with the 29-year-old.
Nice. Go.
Yeah, it wasn't like I want to do that again. So,
Yeah, it's
and it wasn't like anybody made me feel like old or anything like that. But there are some women that are, well seasoned, and they feel more comfortable dating younger men, because in my perception, it's like, oh, not having the same or similar life experience and things like that, or whatever. Whereas they're like, oh, some of these guys, especially today, are well traveled, or, the sexual virility and things like that. I know when I read an article with Tracy Ellis Ross, and she's like, look, I date younger men, because when I've dated people in my own age group, they've been, like fuddy duddies, like one foot in the grave, or very rigid in their thinking, because, they've been on this life journey for a long time. And so, everything's got to like be in a certain sequence, nothing else, no spontaneity. Whereas the younger guys are like, wait, I want to please you. I want to show you off. I want to, wine you and dine you, to your point, right? It's data. It's like, oh, wait, well, how much is she going to cost if I want to, aspire to this? So
yeah.
for you, like, what are the reasons why you date younger men?
My main reason is the politics. Like, I think as someone who has identified as like being on the left, far left
Mm-hmm.
center, and socialist since I was 18, and voted like Working Families Party in New York and stuff, like being much more on the left. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of things that my generation of men, Gen X, when it comes to gender, are actually fairly retrograde. And so the
Mm.
next generation of men, I feel, tend to be much more open, in that respect, much more progressive, much more rejecting a lot of the gendered inequalities when it comes to
Mm.
relationships. So I find younger men, it's just an easier flow, which I really love. And then even just like what we're talking about, like men and like patriarchy and what it does to men. I think the generation of men who were raised by boomers and Gen X, are not like Gen X and boomer men. And so I
Mm.
feel like
Mm-hmm.
the younger generation of men, that's just been easier in a lot
Mm.
of ways. Um, and it's fun. It's like having a little puppy sometimes. It's just like, it's also like energy is great. I like the energy. So I'd say politics and energy are probably the two that pull me most. My greatest, or the two widest, like age gaps that I've had, when I was living in Chicago at a party at my house, and my friend who was a professor at University of Chicago brought one of his students.
Mm.
That was a bad idea. Like, that
Mm-hmm.
was a bad idea. He
Mm-hmm.
was hot. And so, like, that to this day is still the best sex I've ever had in my life. And that guy was like 23 and I was like 36. And so
Wow.
that was like a gap, And plus, there's
Mm.
20s in or whatever. But like, that was so much fun. That was so, so, so much fun. And then, like, the widest gap ever was here in Portugal. Um,
Mm.
I was at my co-working space, and a friend invited one of his. He's younger than me, and his friend younger than him. So there was like a 20-year gap between that guy and me.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Super cute guy. Also Irish. He just happened. It's not like I have a thing for Irish guys. I have a thing for men. Thank you. I realized that's the second Irish guy story that I'm telling. There's men from other countries too. But like, I thought he was like super cute. So I was like flirting with him or whatever, like leaning in and putting my hand on his thigh when we're talking. Didn't react at all. So I was like, oh well, whatever. People flirt with me. I'm not into them. I'm gonna flirt with some people that they're not into me, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take it personally. And I didn't. And so that was it. Saw him months later or whatever, and I was like, hey. I was like, how are you doing? He's like, I'm single now. And I was like, oh, okay. And then so he was hitting on me hard, like very
Mm.
hard. He was very interested. So we're laughing and we're talking to each other. We're in each other's face, and he's super cute. And he said something, I don't remember, but I said something about September 11th, something. It's like, that's what happens with the young ones. You say
Mm-mm.
something, and then they like, I was 5. Wait, how old is she? And it like
It's
clicks
like
off.
this was before your time.
Yeah, that's how it comes up. That's how it comes up because we keep it together. Black don't
Yeah.
crack, right? And so it tends to come up when like I'll say something, or they'll mention high school or some shit. Like something will happen where either they're only like 10 years removed from high school,
Mhm.
or I mentioned some political thing and they were a kid when it happened. Like, so it comes up some way there, whatever. And so I remember whatever it was, he literally was like, wait, how old are you? And I was like, I'm 48. Like, this was years ago. And he was like, and he literally got hard. He's like, you're 48? He's like, you're 48? And I was like, yeah. I was like, how old are you? He's like, I'm 28. I was like, oh my God. I was like, you're a baby. I was like, no, no. And he's like, I love older women. And that's the younger generation loves older. He's like, I love older women. I was like, oh my God. The kids that were saying that, even on the apps, they're all like in their 20s and 30s, mostly like the
Mhm.
35, 38, like the mid 30s. I'm like, I'm 51. And they're like, I don't care. And so like that guy was like, oh my gosh, was totally into it, whatever. And so I took him home. We had fun. I'm not like gonna have a long ass relationship with this guy. We had
Yeah,
fun,
yeah.
and I've seen him
Mhm,
at parties because we have a mutual friend, the friend that brought him to that one, and it was
mhm.
fun. It was great. I went to this jazz club here. This Portuguese guy. He was like hitting me hard and too, and he was a baby. He was 23, I think. He's 23.
Mm.
And it's like, I am so, so, so much older than you. Like, this is not going to work. I appreciate, the attention and the kind words and all these
Mhm.
things, but you're just too young for me. Not giving up. Not giving up. He's still inviting me to
Wow.
something coming up. He's not hearing it. He's like, yeah. So they're something. They're fun. Like, I'm
Persistent
just
persistent puppies, persistent puppies.
yeah, interesting people, and some of those are persistent puppies, or I often call them snacks. Like you eat things for snacks that you
Yeah.
wouldn't have for your whole meal. Like you're gonna have that for your whole meal, but as a snack, it's delicious, and that's
Mhm.
okay. Like as a
Mhm.
snacks serve a different purpose than your meal, and that's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
There's nothing wrong with that.
yeah, exactly.
Committed to me forever. Any advice for Black women interested in non-traditional relationships, polyamory in this case, while abroad? All right, come on now.
Yay! Go for it. I love it. First of all, I love that. And I think that we need to rethink what we consider orientation. Often, when we talk about sexual orientation, we have this weird view that there's this thing called gender, and there are
Mhm,
only two: you're a man or you're a woman. And when it comes to being gender and you're either dating the opposite sex, and that means you're straight, or you're dating the same one, and that means you're gay, or you're doing both. You're dating men and women, and that means you're bi. And so, one, that's all fucked up for a million reasons. There's more than two genders. And not only that, bisexual people could marry either a man or a woman and be
mhm,
monogamous with that person for their whole life. Like, so, could be anything, right? So, when it comes to not only like who you're attracted to in the gender perspective, how you partner with that person or persons, there's a lot
mhm,
of flexibility and ambiguity there. The advice that I have, and also the just admiration and excitement that I have about non traditional and ethical non monogamous and polyamorous and all these other kinds of ways in which people can, is that it requires way more communication than the traditional cis, het, straight, monogamous relationship. That's the
mhm,
default. That's what we're all supposed to be doing. And so people just kind of go into it with all kinds of assumptions without
mhm,
actually talking about it. And so the
mhm.
advice that I would give is what's already baked into that community is that you have to start with conversations. That when you're a
Yes.
straight woman who's only dating men, you don't have those kinds of conversations. Like, for example, when you are getting ready to go for it, you're getting ready to have sex, there's not this conversation about like, how do we want to do this? Like how are we
Mhm,
acting? Like that's not a conversation that straight women have. Gay men have that as a starter, right? But
mhm,
straight women don't tend to have those kinds of conversations when we're dating a man. And same with your partnering with people. So you have to have the kinds of conversations like if you say that you're going to be non-traditional or open, right? What does that mean? And so open
mhm.
could mean we, these two people, right? Like hands open, they don't look fists that look like these two people, let's do this. Okay, you and you, right? Open could mean we don't only do this, sometimes we bring this person in with us. And so we're open because sometimes we have this person in. Or it could mean open means sometimes we have people in,
Mm-hmm.
you, right? Or us, right? Open could mean we only have sex with each other. We're sexually monogamous. But monogamy means more than just sex. We have
Mm-hmm.
emotion and we have all kinds of ways, right? And so, but we get in passionate, emotional, like relationships and maybe kiss or even things, but we're not having sex with other people. And so you
Mm-hmm.
have to have all kinds of conversations about what that even means, first of all, because it could mean so much. And then you have to have conversations about now what does it mean? How does it play out?
Mm-hmm.
Are you gonna fuck somebody in my bed? Are you okay with that? Are you not okay with that? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have to tell me when you fuck other people? Or do
Mm-hmm.
you not? Is it more like just shut up and I don't need to know who you're having sex with? Or is it more of like, in order for me to trust you, I need to know exactly what you're doing? And so
Mm-hmm.
there's way more conversation around non-monogamous relationships than there are around monogamous. Doesn't mean that the factors change. The factors could still be the same. It's just monogamous
Mm-hmm.
couples don't actually have conversations about that. Monogamous
Yeah.
people rarely ask questions like, hey, so what are we going to do when we're attracted to other people? Like, how do
Mm-hmm.
we want to manage that? You're going to be, but monogamous couples don't have those kinds of conversations.
Mm. Yeah, there's a lot of assumptions. And also, too, I think one of the things to not lose sight of is, talked about communication, but honesty, right?
Mhm.
Making sure you're aligned with your
Yeah,
values around, your physical safety, your sexual health, your mental health, right? Because if your partner is being dishonest, is that one of those rules that are like, look, if this line is crossed, this is the end? Or, how do we deal with check-ins? How do we
right,
deal with time when you're with your other person, right? Like, what are the ground rules around that? Because sometimes people use these titles as cover for bad behavior
what
to
that
allow their partner, to have this different power dynamic. And so when you enter into these relationships, it is very important to stay grounded in the rules and the values that you hold inherently true, and to
right.
be very honest and upfront with that partner and make sure you're in alignment before you venture into that.
Exactly. And not abandon yourself. I think we
Yeah.
abandon in so many ways, right? And like think, oh, well, this, but you can't abandon yourself regardless of who you're with, right? Or how many
Mhm.
people you might be in the relationship with you.
Mhm.
Great.
I
More I love
think
these.
we answered this one. And how do you know if you're dating a leading lady man? A Mitch, as I like to call.
How do you know you're dating a Mitch?
No more Mitches.
Oh my God, I love that. I am a leading lady man. I love it. I mean, I mean, people show you who they are every day. It's just whether or
Yeah.
not we believe them and whether or not we're actually like listening to what they say, right? Like
Mhm.
people say that, like believe people when they show you who they are the first time. One, people don't believe it, and then two, they don't listen when people will literally tell you, "I'm gonna
Mhm.
fuck you over." No, not using those words, but they'll tell
Mhm.
you, "Oh,
Yeah.
I'm just a playful, flirtatious person. I'm gonna be flirt."
Mhm.
They'll tell you these things, so you
Mhm.
have to one, listen and to believe it. And so the Mitches. And so I would say, well, there's nothing inherently wrong about being a Mitch. The thing is, if you know that's not what you want, then don't go for that. And so it's like,
Mhm.
it's it's so much of dating when it doesn't work out would be healed if people slow down and literally believed what they were seeing and hearing. Like so much of
Yes.
it would be.
Yes. That's one thing that I've taken in this season, and probably too because I've like talked about those earlier milestones, like, oh, got the
Yeah.
kids and all stuff. So getting to like not rushing to the finish line and allowing to slow down,
Yeah.
to allow this person to reveal themselves, right?
Yeah.
Because that's as good as they're going to get in some ways. Is there Everybody wants to put on their best behavior, right? And so you have to discern, is this person, or is it their representative? It's
Right.
like, who is showing up? And to your point, like, if you start to see discrepancies, inconsistencies, things that they're trying to present as one way, but
Yeah.
their actions are to the contrary, even if their words are saying, "Oh yeah, I'm good," blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, "Oh, but you're not being consistent, or you're not communicating, or you're only communicating when it's convenient for you," or whatever, or just the opposite, being consistent with, or being aware of, what is love bombing, right?
Yeah.
And being, if you are someone who is, coming out of a situation where you didn't get your needs met in a relationship, and somebody shows up and they're being, the perfect partner, and they're doting on you, they're showing, and you're like, oh, and you're drinking it up. What I would say too is, I guess it goes back to the safety thing, is don't ignore your internal compass.
1000%.
Right? You have to pay attention when you talk about slowing down. It's so important because you have to listen to the cues from your nervous system. And your nervous system and your brain might be on two totally different timelines because their ability to interpret data is different,
Mm-hmm.
right? The filter is different. Whereas your body, the sensations are almost instantaneous and the signals are instantaneous, right? Fight or flight. And your brain is going to start to try to, it takes a while to look for patterns and consistency and decipher and the filters. And so you really have to slow down because you're like, okay, do I feel good with this person? Do I feel good all the way around, or is it just my lady parts or my men parts that are getting warmed up, right? Is it because I haven't had sex, or is it because I have too much sex? Is it because I'm curious about what they look like, right? So you have to slow down to start understanding what are the things that are going on, and also not being afraid to speak up, not being afraid to ask the questions, because again, life and time is a finite resource, right? You only get this. And so somebody who spends, 3 months, 5 months, 5 years in a relationship, situationship, a bad relationship, whatever, that's time that could have been spent on yourself, that could have been with other loved ones, that could have been finding your person, right? Or persons.
Mm.
And so just being able to kind of dial in and slow it down. If this is your person, they're going to be there. If this is your person for the long haul, you're still at the beginning. There's no need to rush it. There's no need to skip to the end of the movie. It's like coming and sitting down, like, yo, I want to watch this movie, and I'm gonna skip to the last 2 minutes because I want to see how this shit gonna end. Right?
Friend.
It's
Yeah.
like, what's the payoff, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, now, so it's really just, having this reframe as you start to apply those insights to your dating life.
Yeah. I think a lot of, at least for me, I know it's anxiety because
Mm,
everyone has the whole speed it up really quickly. There's
mm-hmm,
a reason why. Like if you dig deeper,
mm-hmm,
say, why are you wanting to speed it up so quickly? And
mm,
in those situations, I know a lot of that is driven by anxiety.
mm-hmm,
And that is what I said earlier about safety is a state of mind. I don't feel emotionally safe when it's in that very early part and I'm not exactly sure where it's going because I don't know who they are and if they can be trusted and what
mm,
they're not who I think that they are. And so like anxiety starts getting a hold of me. And so I think in order to feel safer, I need to know kind of who this person is. And so
mm-hmm,
the speeding up of it is about actually trying to cure the anxiety part of it. What
mm-hmm,
I've learned to do over time is say that like the faster it goes, the less you know because
mm,
you are one, you haven't really taken the time to get to know the person. Two is it's like this impressionist painting or pointillism where the further you are, it looks beautiful. But the closer you get, you realize it's like dots, to kind of put it all
Mhm.
together. And that's what dating's like. It's like each encounter is like another dot that fills in that picture. And when you're like, well, we just need to fill it in and you pull it forward or whatever, the picture's going to look very different than if you
Yeah.
actually like let it go, show you what the picture actually is,
Mhm.
fill itself in, right, in its own time. And so going slow is a wonderful way to actually make sure, and I had to learn that because I thought that like my anxiety would feel better somehow if I knew right away how they felt and how this ends, if we're together or not. If I know that sooner, I'll feel better. Instead, what I was finding out was that I knew it sooner and I felt better in the immediate term. But then now you're in this relationship with someone that like, oh, and then like you got this intimacy, sexual, physical, chemical, emotional, and they're not really, it's not really working. So then you get this bullshit. Whereas if I
Mhm.
slowed it down, I might have found that out sooner
Mhm.
and I might have dated someone else or what. So it's like I'm learning that too. I mean, I have a lot over the last, I'd say that's been a lesson with maturity and age, that
Mhm.
slowness has come more in my 40s and 50s than it did in my 20s and 30s.
Yeah, and I think just being in this season of life, my body's changing. Gravity is doing its thing, and, and I'm like,
Gravity, the all of it. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, which I would say probably is maybe one of the reasons why I don't want the youngins because they'd be like, wait, why are yours down there?
Oh my God. Oh my, that I will say that is harder. The like not just the gravity thing, but for me it's also the fat thing. Like
Mm-mm.
this guy was Dutch. It was in New York actually. First I had sex with this random ass Dutch, journalist. They're not all journalists and professionals. A lot of them are, but they're
You're
not
the ones
all.
taking notes and keeping score.
Are you from Europe? Are you a professional?
It's Irish journalists
We've
and
got one for
politicians.
you.
Right?
Something about the nerdiness. Like, God, I love a good goddamn nerd. Anyway, but this guy was like, and so we had sex, and he literally was like kind of like doing this with my thigh, like looking at it. Because
Mhm.
he was just like, oh, there's like, I was like, they're curves. I got a lot of fat on my body. He's like, I'm a bigger girl in a European context than I am in the US. If I'm back in Chicago, people are like, somebody needs to feed you, girl. Like, it's a
Mhm.
whole different thing. But like here, I'm absolutely bigger than most Portuguese women that I meet on the street. And
Mm.
so it's like, there's also just our bodies are in different contexts, so
Yeah.
we have that. Younger men don't give a shit. They do not give a shit about that. The first time I remember the one guy, the 28-year-old, I was 48. He's like, "You're so hairy!" Like he was so amazed, and I was like, "Because I'm not a goddamn child. I'm not shaved like I am one." And so
True.
like I don't, and like
Mhm.
younger men aren't used to women who don't shave, and so
Mm-mm.
he was very excited about that. He was like, "This is amazing."
A real woman.
Well, yeah. So some of the stuff that might be different for them might actually turn them on. It's what they like.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're also much more self-secure. You know
Mhm.
yourself better. You're not looking for them to fill some sense of security with yourself. Like
Mhm.
there's so much that younger men love about older women that can be fun. And so
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
like it.
And I think the thing too is like not to censor yourself, especially, I think probably like most of the people that watch and listen are in the 50s, 60s, and up.
Yeah, yeah.
And like you have enough life experience to know the things that you like about yourself,
Yeah.
about a person, sex, right?
Yeah.
So if are like, oh wow, I have multiple orgasms and I like to be, on the top or on the bottom, what
Yes.
communicate that to your partner because there's no sense in you being unfulfilled, right? There's no sense in performing, faking an orgasm so their ego is intact or whatever the case is, because you have to be able to like I think one of the beautiful things about being at this age is like being fully embodied and
Yeah.
being like, wow, like I don't need to impress or perform for anybody. Right. And so, yeah, the titties are a little lower than they was before. They not don't have the volume that they had. And that's okay, right? Like I am, in the middle of the night, about 2, 3 in the morning, I have my own personal heater, right?
Oh,
That kicks
yeah,
on. Right. So those are just certain things, and just being able to, like, every day that you're alive is a gift.
yeah,
And being your fully human self, giving yourself grace, just like this person is fully human. Because guys, they show up, and they'll show you the good, bad, and ugly. They're not trying to put on a performance. They're like, oh, either they don't shave or whatever, cases. They show up. They're not like trying to pretend. And but women, were like, oh, I can't let him see this. And I admit, I have done that too, especially like when I was around this last thing, and we were going to be around each other for a while, and camping, or it was kind of camping, whatever.
yeah,
So then I'm like, oh shit, like what am I going to do when I gotta go to the bathroom? What am I going to do? Like when I wasn't more worried about like taking a dump, but just quietness.
yeah,
So I was like, ooh. So then I had my portable speaker. So I was like, oh, that's problem solved, right? Because I like playing music. But it was like one of those things that it helped me not get anxious. Because
yeah,
granted, like you're gonna be spending a week with somebody, eventually you're gonna have to take a shit. Eventually, you're gonna
yeah,
have certain things that happen. So it's like, okay, rather than make myself uncomfortable, right? Fart, whatever, right?
right,
Certain bodily things are gonna take place. You're human. But it's like, okay, how do I manage through this without letting my anxiety run the show?
yeah,
But yeah, I would say one of the things that I'm more comfortable with is just being like, oh, you know what? I am who I am.
yeah.
Um, yeah. Oh, so Patricia said younger men enjoy older women's confidence. Absolutely.
That's what they say a lot. Like when I ask, because I'll ask them, like, what do you like about older women? That is the number one thing, like Family Feud style. That's the one that, bing, that's the number one that comes
Hmm.
up is the confidence that
Hmm.
what you have in that is appealing and that's sexy.
Hmm.
It's a turn on. It's like you're not looking for them to validate you, and they love that. I love a
Hmm.
young man. I love men. I'm like so attracted to them, and there's like they're not all younger. They're usually my age or younger. I haven't really dated anyone significantly older.
Okay. Okay. And this is gonna, I think, be the last one. Just again. How are those Portuguese men's embracing y'all brown sugar?
Oh, you go first, Krishan.
I mean, it's been interesting. It's been interesting. I think it's not, I wouldn't put it blanket on Portuguese men. I would say what I've encountered as people are at different stages of emotional maturity.
Okay.
And so, and also there is, some cultural context.
Yeah.
So that could show up with making assumptions. Like one of the guys I got unmatched from today, he was like, oh, hi, hi. Oh, and then I think you live in Portugal. Yeah. I mean, that's in the bio. You didn't read it.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't speak Portuguese? And then I was like, I was about to say, is this a question or an assumption? And then I was like, oh no, that's going to expend more energy to a conversation that I'm already past, right?
Exactly.
So it's like understanding, I think, when you think about countries that you're going to move to, is how are women in general treated? And then Black women, are they in, the US is to some degree, I'm not going to say completely, an outlier in the sense that, there are Black women who are, we're the highest educated demographic in the United States, having businesses at a faster rate than any other ethnicity, affluent, so we have our own money and things like that. Whereas if you juxtapose that to a person in a different country, the salaries might be different, the job opportunities might be different. And so you have to kind of look at the playing field, because that the patriarchy is real. And so do they treat women as equals, or do they kind of preserve this hierarchy? That will show up in the communication style. And
Mhm.
so I've been more discerning and not assuming like I would with an American, where I'm like, oh, they're used to seeing black women all the time, or whatever, corporate, and then it's like, well, that may not be the case
Mhm.
here, and so slowing things down. So I wouldn't say it has been bad. I don't get approached, but I also didn't get approached in the States. But I'm
Mhm.
also a person who is old fashioned in that regard, where I do appreciate someone who makes the first move.
1000%. Yeah.
And so that's where, like, I think for me is a level of friction that I'm still trying to navigate.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. And I do. I prefer the person uh, hit on me first, and I very
Mhm.
much am of the mind that for me, if he really wanted to, if he was really into me, he would. So if he doesn't,
Mhm.
I assume he isn't, which makes me not really motivated and excited about hitting up him. And so
Mhm.
that's how that plays out in my mind and in my world. And other people, it's different. So that's good. Portugal, Portuguese men, being here in Portugal, and all of these things. Yeah, so I think it's important for whatever country because I don't know where everyone who's watching this right now or later lives. And so when you are, and the one person mentioned there in Spain, it's interesting and always good to remember that when you're in that country, yes, you can and have the ability to and will meet people from that country. And countries are not a monolith. And so you could
Mhm.
be dating, I dated like I said, a German dude my first 2 years here. You could meet someone from Bangladesh. You could meet a Brit or a Dutch or someone who's here from Ghana or any country, right? A
Mhm.
lot of Mozambicans here. So you could find people from anywhere really. And so when we're thinking about being a black woman, dating abroad in a particular country, we tend to say, what's it like dating men in Spain or men in Italy? Some of the
Mhm.
men in Italy are not from Italy. And
Yeah.
so like also keeping an open mind about you might be meeting people who aren't from that country.
Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, this was great.
I love
Uh,
talking of this.
I was like, oh yeah, we'll keep it to like an hour and a half, and now we hit the 2 hour mark, so we must say goodnight. But
I love it. Thank you
I
so
love
much. Yeah,
talking to you, and I knew this was a topic that was near and dear to your heart, and I'm so
yeah.
appreciative for you not only showing up but sharing, your experience and your knowledge on this topic and in this area. For those who want to continue and get in your orbit, how do they connect with you? How do they follow you?
Oh, I used to, geez. Oh, it's weird. I'll just say this. I used to be so public and online and all the time. And I was on the platforms and I was dating, putting my dating experience, everything on there now. And like I'm on Facebook because I'm over 50 and because that's how I keep a hold of like people that I've been in touch with my whole life. But I'm not really actively like on to things so much anymore.
Hmm.
I have a Substack where I talk about just like life on porch with free. I'm not plugging something to pay for. There's a totally free version, but like I have a Substack where I like if you just want to keep up as far as like what's going on in Lisbon in my life and when I am dating, I talk about that. But it's like it was interesting to hear you say that because I'm like for the first time, I think I spent so much of my like public career of having something
Hmm.
to plug or like follow me and Funky Brown Chick, this and that. And I'm like, this one, I'm like, I'm good. Like if people
I love that. I love that. It's evolution, right? There's an
yeah, like I'm not
evolution.
actively trying to get, it's like
Mhm.
if people want to find me, and I feel like that with everything. People
Mhm.
who are watching this who want to find me can. My name is a unique identifier. I'm the only one. So easy to find me anywhere and connect, right? And that goes to the dating stuff that we're talking about. Like, right?
Mm.
Sometimes it's just a matter of people finding people, and it's not even so much of like putting yourself in a way or doing a certain thing or making sure that it's people finding each other. And I think that's
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah, what's meant for you does not miss you. So this
Exactly.
This was great, Twanna, and thank you for your time. I see from the comments, great after dark chat. Thank you, appreciate it. Everybody's like, great show. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, send this video to a friend who might be considering dating abroad, already in the country, navigating it. Look, Google, find Twanna, get in the know, and I'll be back next week. So, boa noite, y'all. Ciao, ciao.
Much.